And welcome to Rainy Toon Talk. And tonight joining us for looking back with is former Blyth manager Tom. Tom, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight.
Yeah, pleasure. Looking forward to it.
Excellent. I think, Steve, it's our first manager we've had, isn't it? Look, I was just thinking back there just before the show, so it's good because the players are always on slagging off managers, so it'd be nice to take the other way around tonight. Something different.
We're going to get all this ones in first before we croak. So before we pass away, on. There's not years left.
But yeah, we're just going to hand you over to Stephen. Going to go through some questions to start there.
Yeah, no problem.
Just before we start talking about your management career in football, Tom, what was your football career like growing up, leading up into management?
It was okay. I was okay as a junior. I played for New Hartley. Side. Got to the 5th round of the FA Youth Cup, which was unheard of then days. Played Middlesbrough in the 5th round. Stan Cummins and them played. Got beat 2-1 at Seaton Delville, Wheatridge Park when it was a big venue then days. So yeah, as a junior I did okay. When I played football, because I'm obviously not all your new guys, there was only a Northern League First Division and the Lions. They were the 2 senior leagues. Right. So it wasn't like First Division, Second Division, then the Lions, First, Second, Third, or whatever it is, and the Wearside. There was only 2 leagues. So we played predominantly in the Lions for Crampton, Newtown. Dudley had a good side then days. Robbie Carney, Steve Carney played for them, so they're good quality. Peter Cartwright and these sort of people. So I was around that sort of level, but because of work, I was travelling away a lot. So really dedicate yourself to football as people do now, you know. It was either work or you did in the house, you know. So yeah, it was a decent career. I was a decent player. I wouldn't say I was great, but I would kick a ball a bit, so that was about it.
All right. Just touching on your football again there, Tom, where did your love for the sport come from originally?
Well, I've got 4 sisters, so I'm stuck in the middle. So like football was all I had really, other than playing with dogs and that, which I didn't want to do, you know. So used to just go in the back lane, play Dorsey. Used to play a thing called Dorsey. So 2 Dorseys goals and just kick a ball around the back lane. There was about 20 aside, and that was when ever since then loved it. Used to play with a tennis ball. Couldn't afford a football, so no, it's not a sub story this, but that's how it was in them days. And I just loved it from there, and I just couldn't really. When I started to play for, like, my first competitive game was for Blyth boys under 11s. That was when the first decent game we played, and ever since then, loved it, you know.
I've kicked the tennis ball around many times, so I like to be fair. So,
Dorsey was the best game in the world.
I took some elbows in the face over the years playing with that tennis ball. Just moving a little bit further on, Tom. 2004, 2007, I think, was your first step into kind of management with, I believe it was Gated and then at Bedlington. Can you just tell me a little bit about those days?
Well, to be honest, before that, I was at Blyth Spartans as a caretaker manager. So I got into. I was working for the Newcastle Football Development Scheme with Rob Aiken, Barney Jones, and them, and really Neil Winskull, Ben Dawson, them were there. There was a really high quality coaching setup. So I was coaching there, and then I got the opportunity to go to New Hartley Juniors because John Mealy, unfortunately, was ill. So I went and helped him for 2 years, helped John out for 2 years. And then I got a phone call from Blyth on a Sunday night saying, look, can you help out? The manager at the time was John Charlton and Graham Clark, and they'd walked out on the Saturday after the game. Took all the players with them. So the players wouldn't play for the club. At the time, the club was on the boards of one of the really ready to fold, financially. Tony Platt and Kevin Scott came in as chairman and vice chairman, tried to resurrect the club, but it was really a bad time. So Tony Platt lives 2 doors. I was the chairman, so he knocked me door and said, look, I've got a problem. can you help us out? This must be 96, somewhere like 97. And I've got a game on Monday. I've got no players, playing Droylsden away. And Droylsden at that time, they were the best side in the country. They were
decent, weren't they?
Oh, they were unbelievable. So had to run around for players, and we're knocking on people's doors on a Sunday. We managed to get 4 players playing. John Hutton turned up. Richie Foster turned up. Gilly the keeper and Justin Keegan turned up. I think there might be another one, but they turned up. So we ended up having 4 players, and we've got loads of kids after that. Just lads who I knew from Blyth were junior players.
Yeah.
So we went to Droylsden on the Monday nights with 11 players. The last player we picked up with Tony's office. Tony Platton's the chairman. His office, one of the lads said he could play football. He was all right, actually. Wasn't bad. Went down and we played really well for 20 minutes, nils each. And John Hutton got carried off injured. So we're down with 10 men. Then we're down to another player got injured. So we're down with 9 men. Got beat 7-0. Got hammered. But the effort that the lads put in, it's a legend of Blyth that the team at Droylsden, they went down there and they just took it on the chin, because if it didn't, the fine would have probably bust the company, bust the club.
Right. Yeah.
So that was my first start, and I took over. I managed to get a few players back, and I was caretaker manager for about 8 or 9 games, and we won them all. Actually, we beat North Ferriby in the FA Cup. So got the players back. We got the final of the Senior Cup, and I was offered the job, but it was just I wasn't ready. I was just wasn't ready for the job at the time. So Paul Baker took it, and I was probably forced on Paul for 2 seasons as a caretaker manager. It didn't work really because I didn't think Paul wanted us there because he wanted to bring his own man in, but because I was a caretaker. I think the club thought it was to reward me, they would get us in the game. So 2 years of that, we didn't do very well, actually. We're pretty poor. Had some canny players. But then Gateshead come knocking. Me and Paul had a discussion. Paul wanted to bring, I think he brought Graham Fenton in, actually. There's no And I went to Gateshead with a lad called Alan Bell, who was manager at the time. Gateshead never had a penny. They were absolutely had some decent young players, but Alan was in charge, and I went in to help Alan out. And the first game, I think they had 9 points or something in November. They were really, maybe it's less than that actually, and they were really down the bottom, really struggling big style. Alan had done a great job. Then 5 weeks, Alan had left, and that's how I got into management at that level. Alan left, and I was holding the bag, and the second game we played was against Blyth Spartans. So obviously I'm a Blyth lad, played Blyth at Gateshead. I was the most hated bloke in the stadium, I think. Supporters didn't like us because from Blyth, and the Blyth supporters didn't like us because of managing Gateshead. So there was no really time for us, but we beat Blyth 2-1 actually. We had a budget kids. Luckily, Hampton with 2 goals, but from there at Gateshead, we built a really good side. We signed young lads like Liam Connell, who was at Dunstan for a long years. We signed him from Chester Street Youth under 18s.
Right.
And they had a very good cup run that year. And Stephen Richardson, Speedy, his nickname is. He's obviously not a non-league legend. He was signed at 16. So Connell signed at 16. He signed at 16. They played for Gateshead. We had people like Stevie Harrison, James Curtis played. He signed him from it was Sunday morning side. Richard Flynn. We had legend Paul Thompson up front and the Huntley brothers, and they were an excellent side. Young lads who just wanted to play football, didn't have a penny. Were really struggling financially. I remember one game we weren't getting paid much money, but they paid when the paper wage packets, and they paid.
Oh yes.
So they're paying the players in pounds. pound coins and 50 pences and 10 pences. Just the fact the money was falling all over the place, but they just never had any money at the time. Where Gators are now is fantastic, but at that time it was hard. Like, you know, we were wearing strips, we didn't fit with. You know, it's just really hard. And just about that time was when Graham Wood came in. And Graham Wood, the chairman, started to put a bit of cash in. And we did okay, you know. I was there for a couple of seasons, but done really well. Great club. I'm very fond of Gateshead. Whenever I go there, I get a decent reception of the supporters, believe it or not. So, which is very rare from a Blyth lad. But a great club, because it's a club that backed me when nobody else did, really, you know.
Just there, a little bit more on your coach stuff. Obviously, you had various roles within the game before you went into full-time management. Can you just tell me a little bit about any subtle differences you noticed from you going as a caretaker coach to manager? Yeah,
to be honest, as a coach, it was tough, because the coaching I'd done was virtually kids, really. I had a good ground at Hartley, because New Hartley Juniors at the time, their team was absolute quality. They had the best players in the area by a long way. They were excellent players, and they'd all been in the pro game. So I learned a lot from coaching them for starting with. Then I went into coaching seniors. It's a different world. You know, you've got to watch what you say with youngsters, but when you're in a man's world, you can treat them as men. You know, and I'm a very personality coach, I would say. I'm not a person who's going to put maps up and you got to do this, you got to do that. I like to be on the pitch. I like to motivate and get them going that way. Found a big difference coaching, and then on to management. It's a totally different world. You know, I don't think coaches make good managers. I think a manager's role is totally different. Whereas now calling managers coaches, and the management's done from outside. Things like budgets and all that. When you're a manager, look after budgets. You've got to look after the club's finances, transfers, looking after players' welfare and so forth. Whereas a coach, you just get on with it. You know, it's all a bit of fun. So it's a totally different job. I like the management side, because there was a bit of banter. There was a bit of you know, you used to get players in one-to-one and have to tell them the facts of life times, and sometimes it was good for the players, other times it wasn't. But always be honest, you know. Found that if you're honest with players, you kind of get wrong, you know.
I think they get a bit more respect for you that way as well, doing that.
Well, because you know, these players have played a lot higher or miles better players than I was. But you've got to just tell them how they're going to get better, you know. For players, when I used to pick the sides, I used to always speak to players who weren't playing. So all the lads in the squad, I would pull to one side early, because we used to get in about 1:30. By 1:30, 1:45, I used to tell the players who weren't playing, because it's a, you know, it's not fair then when you're reading the team out and all you're focusing on is the team. There's 5 players sitting there, you know, thinking, well, I'm not part of it. So it's important you let them know why they're not playing and what they need to do to get back in the team, and then focus on the team from there, you know. And after the game, I always used to include the players who didn't get changed and that. And it's very hard, and that to me is the management side of the game, you know.
Yeah, right, absolutely. Just a little bit further going into it, I think you went to Blyth as assistant manager. Was it Paddy Atkinson at one point?
Yeah. I was with Paddy at Benfield, so I was Benfield manager for a period of time. Fantastic club with Jimmy Rowe and them, and you know, unfortunately Jimmy's not longer here, and Robert and Derek Gare, physio legends of non-league football. And I took over a side which was set up by Keith Sheardown, who was a top manager. Doesn't get the credit that a lot of people, you know, forget about him. When I was at Benfield, we won the league and cup. The first season I went there, but Sheardown, I virtually signed all the players. You know, he signed some great players. And when I went in there, Paul Baker was, I think Paul was there for about half a season or something, and he left.
Right.
But that team, that group of players was split up by Keith, and the changing room was excellent. It was a superb changing room. So when I went there, I think we were about 12th or 13th in the league, and just got the players together, and they were absolutely outstanding. We had some great players, and the team spirit got them over the line. We won the league on the 87th minute, last game of the season at Penrith away. Stephen Young scored the winner. It was also a concert. It was very close, and concert had the league. The 87th minute, they were scored, and then we won the league by a point. Great side. Great individual people, just a collectively strong but fantastic. And then I left there to go to Blyth. Paddy Atkinson was at Blyth with Tommy Cassidy.
Yeah.
And Tommy, and I think obviously top manager, top player, but I think the club didn't suit him. And Blyth's a funny place. It's like Newcastle, actually. It's like all probably northeast clubs. You've got to get the club. Like Howe's done it. He gets it. He gets what Newcastle's all about, and you can tell he just understands where Blyth is.
Yeah.
Where Newcastle is, and Blyth's the same. If you don't go in and get the club, you're never successful. And I think Tommy just didn't grasp that. So Paddy went in, wanted to help Paddy out. They were struggling for relegation, and then Paddy left, and I was offered the job again. I've been offered the job 3 times, and this time I took it. We managed to survive, and then went from there. Brought loads of kids in because the budget got slashed, and what hard was I had to bring kids in. So I brought loads of kids I knew. I used to be a county, the Canadian county manager, so I knew a lot of lads at that sort of time. Dan Byrne played for them at the time, and Stephen Richardson, who went to Newcastle from there, had a unbelievable in the inside. So I just brought the lads in from that time, which are all 18 years old in a top league, and it was very hard for them. But still, like Robbie Dale and Stephen Turnbull, Neil Hooks is like the proper pros of the side, and I think the average age was 20 years old. When I took over, so absolutely great times. A fantastic group of lads as well.
Brilliant. Just how easy was it the decision for you to agree to take over Blyth, and obviously being a Blyth lad anyway?
It was very hard because I've been caretaker manager 3 times before I took the job. So I was always a lad who, if I wasn't working, I would just jump and help him. It was because it's my club. I followed Blyth since I was 5 years old. Used to get a Spuggies ticket over the fence because we hadn't any money to go through the course. We're that small. We used to dig under the fence and get in. When Blyth had some great players, So I've always followed Blyth, and I'm a Blyth lad. But it was pretty hard to take because I knew the stick I would get because Blyth fans are like, not all of them, a small percentage are pretty sharp, So you get some stick. So and obviously I brought my son into play because at the time I had no money, and our Matthew was a decent footballer, but we were only paying people peanuts, so we had to bring people in who were potentially good players. So our Matthew got stick and I got stick, So, but it was great times, it builds you up as a man, So it was
good. Just a little bit more about like Blyth and the teams in that division. I think there was like North Ferriby, Hensford, and FC Manchester, I believe, at the time. What was the standard of football like? Well,
it was phenomenal. Fylde won the league at the time. The FC Fylde. You had Chorley. The teams in the conference now, most of them won that league at the time, and I still think it's the toughest league in the country. Evo-Stick Premier is an unbelievably tough league, because there's so many good sides, And at the time, Fylde were full time. Most of the teams, I think 3 or 4 teams were full time at the time.
Right.
We had kids. Marine were a good side at the time. They were John Parrott was chairman of them at the time. So, they were good really men. There were, we had kids, and these were very good footballers, but physically strong. So we had to use our speed and with football awareness, and we played some great stuff. But the teams you played against, it was proper football, and it was hard to manage with. Had a good number two, like good Colin Myers. It was excellent. He knew non-league football pretty well. But it was tough. Like, I think Fylde took about 4 seasons to get out of the league, because the league that tough. The league. Chester was in the league. The teams you could read out when we went there were just like all Perchy in the northern and the conference or second division. Harrogate Town wasn't as well. So it was
massive
tough.
learning curve, isn't it? Massive.
Well, it is because the managers are top quality. So it's like I was talking to Ken Beattie at Morton last season, and he was asking the difference because they've moved into the Worcester Prem. And the difference is the coaches and the management, because the players are much of a muchness. They're all good quality players. They're all fit. They've all got good techniques. The strikers, all very good strikers. It's the management and the coaches what set you up to succeed.
Yeah,
because it's just the little tweaks that they do, and that's the difference. If you get a good manager in, you can win the league with a good side. But if you've got good players, it doesn't mean you're going to win the league. If you've got a good manager can have an average side and be up there. So it's, to me, I think that at that level, it's all about the manager, coaching setup, and how you actually get the players set the player, how you get them set up to perform. It starts from the Tuesday night training session all the way through to Thursday and ready for the game on Saturday. So we try to do it as professional as we could in a non-league environment, But I think it's how we set up. It's really important.
No, absolutely. It's a massive part of the battle, isn't it? I think.
Well, it's just we were lucky in a way because we didn't have much choice of signing any players on, so we had to just worry about ourselves. I was talking to Millsy, the Gator manager at the time, I used to speak to him a lot, and he was top manager, miles ahead of me. But he always used to say, just look after what you've got. Don't be too bothered about the sides you're playing against, because if you kind change it, because you haven't enough people to change it, we had a squad of 15. If you kind change it, what's the point of worrying? Just get on with your own game, set yourself up properly, and if you set yourself up properly, you've got a good chance. We had some really good players.
Brilliant. Another one about really when you took over. Originally, I think it was the same season, March time, I believe. Yeah. I think you took over and you got 6 wins off the bounce. And obviously you moved the club well away from the relegation. How proud a moment was that for you? First taking over and getting in the club.
Yeah, for me it was personal pride, because the level that you are managing at, and it's my hometown club, and I knew most of the people in the crowd probably, so I knew the club from top to bottom, But the club should never be in that position. The club like Blyth, a club of that size and that sort of the potential of supporters should never be in that position. And it was a good success, but it was bittersweet, because you don't want to see the club like that, hanging on for the dear life. It should never be like that. The club's a fantastic club. They still haven't got it right now, So when we were there, we got it to a level of success, and a squad of average age 25 top players. Probably if they kept that team together, they would have been definitely in the conference, the National League, possibly in the Football League. The team was that good. They just had to tweak it. They just had to bring players in. So when we set it up, after that near miss relegation, because we did finish mid-table, just in the mid-table. I think it was 17th or 16th or something. We finished it, but it should never be in that. But because they had some canny players as well, they weren't a bad side, but we just had to change the the ethos of the club, and we had to get people who wanted to be at Blyth, wanted to play for the shirt, you know. If they didn't want to play for the shirt, they were no good, were you?
Yeah. So you've got to believe in the project as well, haven't you? Like you say, you've got to represent that shirt. You know, massive club like Blyth as well.
You've got to die for it, you know. Well, not literally die, but you've got to give everything you've got. You know, you can tell when players are having a rest. You know, the players are just not putting it in. It's up to the manager and the coaches to make sure that they put it in as much as they can and understand what they can bring to the game and understand how much they can give. Because if you expect more than they can give, well, it's not going to happen, you know. So just know what they're good at, put them in a shape, and make sure the shape's working. But it's all about attitude. If you haven't got the attitude, you kind of do the hard work and the hard graft and work and all that. It's all about attitude, you know.
I totally agree with that one. Like, I'm just going to hand you over to Rainey now, Tom. I know he's got a few questions to ask you there.
Yeah, so as we kind of speaking about coming in as the caretaker, then taking over as well, it must be hard kind of to build a squad of your own over the summer, obviously, as you say, with the budget. I mean, I've done it myself, Sunday League and stuff, texting players, Facebook Messenger. You're waiting for replies. It's hard, isn't it? I mean, it is a challenge, though, but it must be quite exciting to put a fresh squad of yourself together for the new season of 2013.
I think it's probably the most rewarding thing you can do in football. You know, when I came into the game as a coach, it was all about development. So you're developing players and you're developing teams, and you know, it's all about satisfaction of seeing people develop on the pitch. You know, and when you're bringing players in, there's nothing better than get it. As you know, it's all about the change room. You know, you can normally walk in a change room and feel success, and success is just about winning things. Success is you know that the players have got each other's back. You know that they know each other they know the players around them, so they know the strengths and weaknesses of the players around them. So it's that sort of satisfaction of just not ability wise, but character wise, putting a bunch of characters together and trying to get a team out of it. And it's hard, you know. It is hard, but when you do get it right, it's the best feeling in the world, you know. And it's not. And you might not win the league, you might not win the cup, but you'll think back on a couple of games that you played, and when it just clicked, and the football you played was outstanding. And you know, some of the football we played at Blyth was just, you know, because the players knew that you had their back. So if they did something wrong, so what? You know, that's just sit the players, you can move the ball. So it's not important. Just get it back and play again. So let them grow, let them breathe, and let them develop. I'm not one of these coaches who you've got to be this right blade of grass all the time. You kind of move from this area, you kind of do this. Yeah. I've never been like that. I just believe in getting the right players in and trying to develop them as much as you possibly can.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, you mentioned players well, but I know you mentioned Colin before. He used to be my college coach at New Durham. So I know Colin well, but it's very important to get someone like that you trust, isn't it? And between yourselves to build that the trust between the players, the management, and just getting that squad together. Isn't it? It's good to have someone like that, the right-hand man.
Your backroom stuff's massively important. And it's at times when you go in as a caretaker manager, there's normally already a staff there. So you kind of kick stuff out, because non-league football, it's not like a professional game where you bring your whole staff with you. So at the time Blyth were in probably like Gator, the jobs I get is normally when in dire straits, you know. Normally at the club. So I normally get them types of jobs. So we're advertised for an assistant manager, and the phone never rang once, you know.
Right.
Colin rang us up and said, look, I think he was at Bishop's at the time, and the Bishop side who had done very well, you know. So he rang us up, had a chat with him, and we just worked it together, you know. He's a top guy, very knowledgeable, really good coach. And he's, you know, he was a big part of the success of the club, you know. John Bottenshine came in as the the goalkeeping coach, and Bev Doherty was the physio who had a Gateshead. He was massively important because he was the character in the change room.
Yeah.
And he knew when he's a good physio, he's old school physio when the players trusted him. So if he needed a player ready, he would make sure the player was ready mentally. Maybe his injury wasn't 100%, but the player believed in him, saying, "Look, you can get 60 minutes out of him, so get him on." And the players trusted him, and he was a vital part of the change room. So it was a great backing staff, great people, really good characters, which is there's not many there knocking around at the minute, So, but they were pretty special.
Yeah, definitely. Some really good times coming up for Blyth. I know obviously a bit of a struggle at the moment, but some good times that we're going to speak about now. I mean, your first full season, you finished 8th, and I think it was 8 points off the playoffs. You must have been proud of your first season, full season in charge of Blyth.
Yeah, we had. I think we had like Ryan Cummins playing right back. He was only 15, I think, at the time. So we had a lot of kids in. Michael Richardson we got him from Newcastle. Got released, but the team when I took over were all kids, Robbie Dale was there, obviously, who was obviously a legend. Stephen Turnbull, I think Stephen wasn't there the first season, but Neil Hooks was there. Neil Hooks was a top quality footballer, but there's some good lads, and it was good because the league was tough. It was a really tough league, and we probably should have finished higher. Really, we weren't far away from the playoffs, and if we had started the season a little bit better, we probably would have gotten the playoffs that season, which would have been a massive plus for the budget we had. The budget was probably the worst budget in the league, So we were struggling. The gates weren't great. You had the problem with the previous season where the gates started to plummet down, and when we started the season, I think it was 300 there. So the club can't survive on that level. They're travelling. Slowly went up to 500, 600, 700s. And from there onwards, it was just a very successful time,
Yeah, pretty much going to the season after like the 14-15 season again. Another great season, and I think it just kind of getting better and better. You must have thought it's almost getting there, it's ready to go to that next level, which we'll get on to in a moment. But you must be in to feel that building between yourself, the back room, and the players, the group like you had as well.
You had we were getting people from Seaton Delaval. Danny Maguire was playing with Seaton Delaval at the time. We had Ryan Hutchinson playing with Delaval. Delaval were in the Lions, which was, I think, 4 or 5 steps, maybe as long, 5, 6 steps down over. Never played for anybody of any standard. Delaval were a good side, had some good youngsters. Matthew played for them. Ryan Hutchinson played for them. So signed 3 from Delaval who came in, they were outstanding, coming from that sort of level all the way up to the top level. Danny Maguire just was unplayable at times, I think he'd average about 20 goals a season from Norway. Little lad, just battled his heart out. We had Jarrett Rivers, who was at Whitley Beer. I wanted to watch him in the cup final at St James's, and never played. So I wanted to scout him. He never took. They could have won the last 10 minutes or something. But seeing him, he was outstanding. He was absolutely unbelievable footballer. Nathan Buddle was there. It was brilliant. Damon Mullen, just great characters. And as you know, as being in management and coaching, it's about the characters, and they just blended really well. And you could see them getting better and better. And they just believed in themselves, and they were just getting stronger and stronger. And then we're seeing people like Wilson Leeshaw, who was an absolute superstar, Sean Reid from West Lotman, who won the second division of the Northern League, and they just had the right character, and that's what made them better. And they got better and better because they worked hard. They worked exceptionally hard as footballers,
Yeah, I mean, the season after, you finished 6th, and I'm going to mention the 2 cup runs of that one. I think it was only 2 or 3 points that you finished behind the playoffs as well. But it's the hard work in the cup. The first one you win the Northumberland Cup, beating Mortlev. What is it like to, obviously, as a Newcastle fan, being at St James Park, but to manage your team there and to see your team lift a trophy at St James Park? We haven't seen that for years. So it must be nice to be a part of it.
It was weird about the cup run. A lot of people forget that we had to be we played 4 qualifying rounds, and then we played, and then we got the proper rounds, and we played a few rounds before that. So by the time we got to the good rounds where there was money on it, we had played 4 or 5 games, So the league games got put back. So when we played Altrincham, who were top of the conference at the time, or I think they were third of the conference from that at the time, it's at Blyth, we were bottom of the league. We had 9 games in hand of everybody. so we were bottom. So people looking at us as a bottom league side. We were never a bottom league side. We were just, we should never been there. But we had that many games in hand. So we played Altrincham, bottom of the league, beat Altrincham 4-1, absolutely battered. A good side, really good side. So we beat them 4-1. Then we got the next round, did Hartlepool away, which was a surreal occasion. The coldest night in the world was, I don't know if Hartlepool's ground, but it was a Friday night on the TV, and it was absolutely bitter. It was the coldest I've ever been in my life. And we got there, and there's a lad who used to play for Blyth called Alan Shaw, played for Newcastle. Alan Shaw is a legend. So they came before the game and said, look, Alan Shearer is going to come in and do a talk. Nice. Just to put on the TV. And we were going, oh, brilliant, that's fantastic. Hartlepool wouldn't let him in to see it. They wouldn't let him in their changing room. They said it was disrespectful to Hartlepool or something like that sort of reason. But so he only had to come in hours. But before that, I was walking around and I saw Alan Shaw downstairs. Well, to a Blyth person, he is Alan Shearer. He is like the top player at Blyth, one of the best Blyth players ever. So I said, Alan, look, and there was a lot of behind the scenes, there's a lot of Blyth supporters doing the kits, looking after the ground and all that. So there's a lot of old Blyth supporters in there, and the media side of all Blyth, ex-Blyth supporters. So Alan Shaw came in and did a speech, and he had them all crying. He was just so emotional and passionate about what Blyth meant to him, even though he went on to have a career with Peter With at Newcastle and be a top player there. Blyth was always his heart. So I had him come in doing a speech which was pretty emotional. So the ones that the old Blyth people like myself were a bit emotional at that time. Then Shearer come in, did his bit. By the time we started the game, was shattered. The players were drained emotionally. So the first 20 minutes we should have been battered. They missed a few chances, but we got back on top of them. They scored first, but at the end of the game we were the better side, and we were non-league. I know they weren't Hartlepool were second division at the time. I think they were just under mid-table. I think something like that. They're going through a bad time on financially, I think, but we to my opinion, I think we played them well the second half. First 20 minutes we should have won the game, But I think it was 4,500 people there. There was 1,500 from Blyth, and it was just absolutely unbelievable. It was a fantastic night. If you're a Blyth supporter, obviously, and Shearer was there, which made all the made it a little bit better. But was just a great night, and one that you talk about when you're pushing a wheelchair around when I'm incontinent and it's home,
No, I always remember watching it because I used to go watch Hartlepool a lot, and I remember that season they were just struggling in financial and stuff, and finishing work. I just really fancied Blyth that night, and I think I wrote it down. It was 4-1 to win. I had hardly any money left, but I really fancied going out on the night, so I put 25 quid on Blyth. So when Jarrett Rivers, obviously when the goal went in the last couple of minutes, I was on the phone with my mate. I says, I can't come out tonight. I've got no money. Then the goal went, and I was like, I'm coming out with the drinks from me. I was like, yes. So I was over the moon watching this, but must have been great just being a part of it all.
Yeah, they just ran out of energy. The plan was we had 2 midfield players. Or Matthew played, and I can't remember his name. I'll remember that in a minute. But we said, look, you've got to run yourself in the ground first off because that's their strongest time. They're just strong, so you've got to sacrifice yourself for the team. Just put the effort in. You might not touch the ball, but put the effort. So they lasted about 60 minutes, and we brought Michael Richardson on, who was at Newcastle. He's like fittest lad in the world, and he did fantastic, David Murray came on, did fantastic, and it was just a fantastic time. And when the goal went in, mind you, I think they scored at the end, because I'm sure the ball was over the line when they had a header at the end. And I'm sure it was over the line, but Peter Jeffries' version wasn't. But that was great, and credit to Hartlepool, they were absolutely brilliant. Supporters were excellent, they were great, and the staff at Hartlepool were superb, It was surreal because we had all the TV cameras there. You had all the people like George Cook in there, and the proper top echelons of football, media side, and it was something that lives with you forever,
Oh, that's great. Like yourself and Stephen, obviously we know the hard work that the North East teams, the local teams, have to go through just to get to the first round. I mean, I wrote them down because a lot of people may only know the professional game and they think, oh, everything starts at the first round, where it doesn't. I mean, you look back and you beat Darlow 3-0, but that was obviously in a replay. Skelmersdale 4-1, Michelova 2-1, League 4-3. And you probably read these names thinking, God, I didn't realise you had to play so many games before you actually hit the first round against Altrincham before then play Pools. And then obviously onto the Birmingham as well. It's amazing how many games you've actually got to play just to get that first round. But also that season as well, you go and beat Morpeth at the St James's Park. That must have been a special night as well.
Yeah, but just go back to the FA Cups quickly. The teams that we played, every team we played was top of the league.
Oh, amazing teams. Yeah.
So, and we played them all away. Dalton should have beat. Actually, at that Dalton, Peter Jeffries saved a penalty. It was unbelievable. But everybody we played at that time, we played them were top of the league.
Mm-hmm.
So it was tough. Michelova were a very good side. League Town were a great side. So it was tough, really tough. And obviously got beat off Birmingham. We should. It's probably people think I'm crazy. We should have beat Birmingham. But before the game, we had 3 lads who would have been starting had the flu. So
right.
And they were ill. And they couldn't play. I put them on the bench, but we couldn't have played them. So we played that game with 13 players, and we're still 2-0 up. And we got back 3-2, but we should have drew at the end. We should have got a draw at least. And that's the Birmingham were flying at the time, the championship, and I think Gates had played West Bromwich at the same time. I beat 7-0, 7-1, I think it was. Yeah. So it was tough, and then obviously the reward at the end was the Senior Cup against Morpeth, who I've got great friends in Morpeth, at the good side. And Morpeth were a very good side. Some exceptional players playing for them. And it's probably the best football we've played. But we were outstanding that night, just totally out-footballed a great Morpeth side. We just played them off the park. And I think that was just the belief that we had on the cup run and the league. I think we went after we got beat off Birmingham, and then we got beat off Frickley away on the Tuesday night. And I think we went on to win 22 games on the trot, and I think we played 67 games or something that season. So, it's a lot of football for a 16-man squad,
Crazy.
So it was just one of them times when everything clicked in non-league football. As you know, if you're winning, you play every night.
Yeah.
So the Senior Cup was brilliant. There was a lot there. There was a fantastic time, and the lads deserved it. I think the reward was there for the lads. Like really, really good set, and they deserved to win the Senior Cup.
Definitely. Before I hand you back to Stephen there, the chairman at the time must have been loving you with these cup runs, and obviously Birmingham at home. He must have been over the moon with you that season.
Yeah, we made some money, but the way the chairman Tony and Kevin and Steve Frake and Ian Evans and all these lads on the board just Blyth supporters, and they wanted the club to be self-sufficient. So before 2009. Harry Dunn was there, and they played Blackburn. And I think it was the third round again. So, and they played Bournemouth, and they beat Bournemouth away 2-1. And I'm sure Eddie Howe was. I might be wrong, but I think Eddie Howe was playing, or he's part of the staff. But they beat Bournemouth away, and then they played Blackburn, and it was Sam Allardyce's first game as Blackburn manager.
Yeah.
And Blackburn won 1-0 at Blyth, but they made a bit of money then. So 2019 made good money, and then when we played them, they made good money again. So yeah, they were set up for the next. The idea I had was I would leave them in a position where I could that the club would just develop.
Yeah.
And the next man would take them on, because I'm a firm believer that if you put everything into a job as a football manager, you've got 3-4 seasons at being at a good level. Then after that, either the players get complacent or the manager gets complacent, and you haven't got the same drive.
Yeah.
To get over. Different to being a pro game, because you've got the more. It's a different. But I think non-league football, your manager needs to be the driving force of the club. You know, so they made a lot of money. You know what? You won the FA Cup draw twice. You know, one at Manchester, and then the other one at Hull. And Steve Bruce was there, and he drew the balls for. He was at Hull at the time, and he pulled out the bag against Birmingham. So it was just surreal times for the club, like my club. It was a very surreal time, you know. But great times for the club, and we left the club on a pretty level playing field, you know. Or more than that, we left them a good budget and good crowds. We were averaging 800-900s at the time. And then from there, obviously, they had money in the bank, you know, which is very rare for a new club.
No, amazing. And back to yourself, Stephen.
I'm just talking about some of the players you managed at your time, in particular at Blyth. You've had the likes of Steve Turnbull, Rivers, Richardson, Maguire, and obviously club legend Robbie Dale. What was that squad like, and what was it like working with those kind of players?
Well, they were absolutely brilliant, and I've been lucky. Gateshead squad were brilliant. The Benfield squad were brilliant. I was at Harrogate Town for 2 seasons. They had good squads, so I've been blessed with working with good people, and the backroom staff have been excellent. So I think it's the environment. I was talking to, I'm not name dropping, I was talking to Bobby Robson about it when Blyth did the centenary game. Jackie Charlton was the honorary president of Blyth at the time, because John was his son and was manager, and we played Newcastle at Blyth. Newcastle won 7 or 8-0 or something, yeah. And Bobby Robson came upstairs with Mick Wadsworth, who was his, I think it was his.
Oh yes, yeah.
So, and at Blyth there was only a little room at the time upstairs. So, Jackie, I was sitting at the table, and they came upstairs, and I made him a cup of tea. And I knew Jackie. I didn't know Jackie well, but I knew him to speak to. And I was at the tea, and he invited us over. That was 1999, I think it was. And I sat in their company, and I said, "Look, I'm aiming to be a manager. I'm trying my best. You know, what's the secret of football? You know." And asking Bobby Robson, who was a legend, and Jackie Charlton, and Mick Wadsworth, and them, and he just said, "Look, trust your players, respect your players, and if they trust and respect you back, you've got it. You know." And just things like that stick with you a little. And I only spoken for. I keep on telling people I've spoken for all night, but I spoke about 3 minutes. I went a cup of coffee, cup of tea, or so it was. He's waiting for his driver. Sat down, spoken for 3 minutes, and it's probably the most interesting 3 minutes of my life, you know. But they were just absolutely brilliant. But he says, and what he also said, they were talking. Jackie Charlton was talking about the World Cup and all that, and you know, and I'm just like in awe of this, what they're talking about. But and they say it's all about the players. It's the environment that you build for the players to be in.
Yeah,
makes the difference. You see players in clubs who haven't got the right environment, and they don't develop. You see players who've got the right environment but aren't the right players, and they don't develop. It's getting that magic formula, and if you've got it, you perform. And at Blyth, we had the right mixture. We had the senior pros, Neil Hooks, Robbie Dale, who was unbelievable, Stephen Turnbull. You know, if you got Stephen Turnbull and Phil Turnbull. Phil Turnbull was at might be at Dalton at the time, but he was at Gateshead for years. 2 of the most professional non-league footballers you ever meet in your life. Stephen Turnbull and Turnbull were just so focused. You know, if you could make a footballer in non-league football, that would be the two of them. Absolute legends. They're just the way they conduct themselves in the change room from before the game. You build up in training. Everything they did was professional, and the young players learned from that. And then Robbie Dale obviously got around the players. I made Robbie captain, and he was, you know, outstanding. I like Wilson Nisho was signed from Dalton. I spoke to him, making great Dalton, and said, "Look, Wilson Nisho, is he available? Well, you can have him, but he's useless. He doesn't score goals." So in the first game, he scored 4 goals, 5 goals. But he came in an environment what suited him. He came in an environment everywhere was happy, everywhere was switched on. Training was brilliant. By this time, we got a lad called Lee Pickton come in because Colin left to go to concert. Lee Pickton came in, and who was absolutely one of the best coaches I've ever worked with. You know, absolutely unbelievable coach. Yeah. So Lee came in, and the environment that continued from Colin was just like unbelievable. So Willow came in. He just couldn't stop scoring goals. You know, we played him as number 10, and he was just brilliant. Then he got to move to Sacramento in America, and he was a legend over there. You know, so you're right. It's all about, you've got good players, but if the environment's not right, you won't succeed. And I think this is what people forget, what happens behind the scenes. You know, look, there's no better example in Newcastle United. If you look at how they're set up and how we've got little things like this photo that they show everybody cheering when they win the game and all that, and the environment that they seem to be in, everybody seems comfortable, everybody seems happy. Win or lose, they all seem to be content. They all seem to be settled in the group, and I think we had it at Blyth in abundance. You know.
Aye, yeah. Just talking about Robbie Dale again a little bit, Tom, if you don't mind. What was he like as a person off the field, and then obviously you would know what he's like.
In the world, strangest person you ever seen. He was unique. He's probably the best player, and this is probably a big statement, but probably the best player playing non-league football for the last 15 years. I would have thought. 6'4" left winger who wasn't the fastest in the world, but nobody could touch him. At Birmingham, you know, against Birmingham, he was outstanding. Against the championship side, he run them ragged. But a unique lad. Very, very quiet. Very, very quiet in the change room. Always trained well. He used to cycle to train at times. He lived in Cranton, so he'd cycle down to Blyth and train at Blyth, cycle back home. Never, ever, ever a problem. But people used to say it, and I spoke to a lad called Harry Dunn, who was the manager who brought Robbie in. Mm-hmm. Spoke to Harry about him, and Harry says, "Look, if you can get him right, he'll carry the team, you know." And he loved the environment because there's loads of kids there. There's loads of people that looked up to him. They were all like fans of Robbie Dale, and he took him on board, so we made him captain. But he was just a talent. I've never seen a player like him in that position. He could do anything on a football. Like, he's just absolutely outstanding. But he had his unique ways, but he just had to get on with it. And there's times when he wanted to run back, and I wouldn't let him come back because I just wanted to not get involved in the doing stuff. There, and we did probably had a couple of players in midfield who did Robbie's work, only because Robbie's work had to be at the magic end. We didn't want him doing doggies up and down. Other coaches probably would have, if he's not doing doggies, don't play him. I think a couple of coaches, one got rid of him at Willie Beer because he wasn't tracking back. Who's bothered? You know, if he can track back, I'm not that bothered. You know, if he's doing the magic stuff, it's like Maximum at Newcastle. Yeah, people will track back. People want to come back all the time, but if he's doing the sharp end stuff, it doesn't make a great difference. But at the minute he's not doing the sharp end stuff, so he's getting criticised for not doing the ugly stuff. How knows him? How knows how to play him? And Robbie was a similar type of person, absolutely outstanding footballer, unbelievable lad. Went to a presentation at the league presentation, he won player. He was voted the best non-league player in the country by the supporters, all the clubs, and he was captain of the team of the year, and he got a special award. And Paul Fairclough, who was the England C manager, went to do the reward. So there was 250 people there. So Robbie went up, and they were expecting to do a speech. Got the award. They did a big presentation, showed him a slideshow of how he was playing in his games, and he's outstanding. And then he went up and said thank you and walked back off. And that was it. Off he went, And that's Robbie Dale in a team, but unbelievable talent. And obviously he should have been playing pro football, but I think the non-league game suited him. He would never be a pro footballer, not because he wasn't good enough, because he probably didn't want to be in that environment,
Yeah.
So now he's still pretty much, and now he's doing really well,
Yeah, fantastic, isn't he? Bit of a tough one for you. Obviously, I know you had your son Matthew playing under you. What was that like managing your son?
It was tough because he got the lickings of a dog off everybody, Yeah, it was hard. And mention what Robbie Dale, our Matty had to do, not Robbie's work, but play a different role, which allowed Robbie to have that freedom. So we used to play a three midfield. It was either nearly Stephen Turnbull or Neil Hooks, or Matthew, Sean Reid, or Michael Richardson. So it was also putting the legs in midfield, so we could just win the challenges, win the ball, and then give it to Robbie or Rivers or Maguire or Wilson Eashaw or Steve Richardson, these quality players at the top. So it was tough managing, but he's a great lad, He just got on with it. He got some abuse, but he got some really bad abuse. But the majority of supporters liked him. The away supporters loved him, and he came in with average of 6 goals a season. So he did his defensive side, and when we were there, we had the highest goal scoring record in the league, and we had the best defensive record in the league for I think 2 or 3 seasons, something like that. So collectively, he was part of the squad. He was I wouldn't say he was a vital part of the squad, but he was a type of player that we needed to allow the other players to have that freedom to play. So you got some stick like.
I know I've coached my nephew before. God, that was bad enough, like horrendous.
It's horrendous, but when we go goal down, get weary off. In fact, we went we played Bamber Bridge away, which was one of his friends' bachelor party, and we played Bamber away. Bamber had a good side at the time, and they came with a big banner. There was 40 of them came in the game, and it had "Get Weary Out." Big banner, massive banner behind the goals, "Get Weary Out." And all his friends, I think Dan was there, actually, Dan Boone was there, and it was brilliant. And they had T-shirts made, "Get Weary Out." Just as a joke, But it was brilliant, and he scored that game, so he did well. But it was at times it was funny, other times it was horrendous. But coaching your son is the hardest thing in the world,
Yeah. I can only begin to imagine. Like I say, I've got a slight insight with my nephew. He's like, "Nah, I'm not listening to you." He's like, I'm not doing that. I'm doing what I want to do, kind of thing,
I think he was good because he had to manage that side, because obviously the players had to trust him because he was the manager's son, and at the time he was living with us, so he was still living in the house, and it was tough for him because the players have got to trust him, and the players did. Because obviously I used to let the players have their own time in the change room, and they had the group chats and all that. I wouldn't get involved in that. But, it was tough for him, but he enjoyed it. He played for England C, so he can't be that bad.
Fair play. 2015-16 season, I believe you finished on 99 points, finishing second overall.
Yeah, after
you didn't. Apparently you didn't get promotion, but then you lost 4-3 to Wigan. As a manager, how annoying and frustrating is that?
Well, it was horrendous. Well, seeing that, we Dalton had games in hand number, and there was Salford, Dalton, and us. They were the 3 sides in the league. Salford had all the actual cameras and that after them. The documentary. We beat them twice. We beat them 1-0 away, which I didn't like, and we beat them 2-1 up here. The two managers are very, very passionate, a bit like me. So I had the run-ins, but the good lads. They were under the pressure to go, because obviously you had, I think, Ryan Giggs and Neville and Neville and Beckham, I think, was part of the group, and Neil Butt and Scholes. So, you know, Manchester lads. So when you've got that pressure of them behind you, it's tough. Like, so we always had good run-ins, but they're great. They're great lads. They're spending more now, so they're doing really well. But yeah, it was. To be honest, Dalton were the best side in the league at that time. They were. Gracie had a good side. They had a good stadium. They had good supporters. And I think it was their time, to be honest. Like, we got the playoffs. We had players injured. Danny Maguire, I think we lost 3 or 4 players. This is not an excuse, but the run-in, we lost players at the wrong time. We didn't have a big enough squad. Whereas Don had a bigger squad, but you know, Don deserved it at the time, and we just missed out. 99 points, not win the league is
unbelievable. Like, I remember the season well.
And Salford went up. Salford, they went into the playoffs. Working and beat one the night at Croft Park, and we struggled. We were gone. We were absolutely shattered. And it always happens when you're up there, because we were top of the league for a long time. And when you come in the dogfight, the playoffs, I think you lose a bit of edge. And I think they just had the edge. And the manager was outstanding. He set them up properly. They had a good side working. They had a really good side. We got beaten the night, and unfortunately, we didn't have the sharp end of the team right. It was a horrible night, like Porter Rain, but they were the better side on the night, and they beat me. You know, that's how it goes. You know, unfortunately,
just talking about the Northumberland Cup final against North Shields, where he's lost 4-3.
Yeah,
how difficult was that to take, and how was it going into the dressing room after the final whistle after that game?
It was tough. To be honest, North Shields had a good side, but the first half we strolled it, and then we just hit a wall. You know, I think everything missing out on the league. I think we just ran out of energy, and North Shields what second half of the last 30 minutes. Gareth Beamish scored 2 worldies. You know, they were just absolutely worldy goals. But I think at the end, they probably deserved it at the end. You know, probably over the 90 minutes, first 45 were excellent. Didn't put them to bed. And I think second half they were a better side. So it was disappointing, but I think we were just drained. We're just drained of everything, you know. It's an awful feeling, but well done to them, you know. They're a good club, you know, good people, and they deserve to win it, you know.
Yeah. Moving on to the following season, you lost 4-2 to Morpeth in the FA Cup. I think that was 2016, I believe.
Yeah.
And I think you resigned at some point after that game, didn't you? Did you feel that was the right time to go?
Yeah, to be honest, the Morpeth game was a funny game. They had a good side. They had signed a lot of players. The team, Spennymoor, had a good side. We were. I don't know what happened actually. We just weren't very good on the day. They were up for the game, and it's like I was saying before. Sometimes the players like live off the manager's desire, and if the manager hasn't got that sort of drive and ambition anymore, well, not ambition, but the drive, and a bit drained, you've got to let the players go to the next level. So after that game, the crowd were a bit. Certain parts of the crowd were horrible. Like, got to stick, and I just thought, look, it needs the next person to take it on. So what we did was I spoke to the chairman, and I said, look, it was just before Christmas actually, and I said we need to start looking for the next person in. I said, I don't want the job advertised. We'll just go and get the person we want. So I spoke to a few people. Alan Armstrong was at the crowd, just signed his son, Luke Armstrong.
Right. Yeah.
Just Luke was playing for at the time. He was 17, 18. And Alan had come to the games, and I had a chat with Alan about what his future plans were. I did with Blyth as well, so I knew him roughly. He was at Middlesbrough at the time doing the under 23s, or maybe he's been under 18s or something. And he said, look, I'll be interested. So I spoke to him for about 4 weeks, and then I just looked at he's the right man for the job. So me and Tony appointed him. So I appointed him when I was manager. And it was a sad time because, but I think I took them as far as I could without maybe changing one or two players, one or two. It was right because we were flying. We were still high in the league. I'm sure we're top of the league when we left. And I think we're just saying Matty Patterson. Paul Robinson was there. What an unbelievable squad. Season before we finished on 99 points. I think we had a better squad than did that season. So they were always going to win the league. They were favourites to win the league, and I knew I'd left with the money in the bank. Great squad of players added to the squad, and I thought Alan was the right man for the job, and it proved that he was,
Did well, yeah.
Did very well. Just a random question I'm going to put to you, Tom. But obviously, Terry Mitchell's recently departed Blyth. Would you be interested in going back?
If the wife's not listening, yes. To be honest, it's funny because I did a bit for the juniors a while ago. As mentoring for the coaches, and I went to mentor the reserve side. This was about 2 seasons ago, and the reserve team manager said, "No, didn't want to come along because he's a bit of the dinosaur." And I thought, all right, okay. Well, I'm thinking, it's to be honest. I think it's a young man's job now. Like I think it's a great club. I've probably I think about 5 or 6 years I've been there, maybe it's a bit longer, as caretaker manager and assistant manager and manager and so forth. But it needs, I think Terry was very unfortunate to get sacked, or he left, or whatever happened.
Yeah, strange one.
Strange one. They must have somebody lined up because. You're not getting rid of Terry. Terry would be organised. He'd sign the players. So let them bring players in and not give them the time to work with them is a bit strange. So I don't know if they've had something lined up. They must have something lined up. I've heard there's an announcement Monday or Tuesday this week.
Right.
But that's just through the grapevine. So I don't know. But I think Terry's probably been... not tricked the way, unless he's left. I don't know if he's left. I don't know.
I think there's a lot of rumours flying around, isn't there, about that one? I think as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you just don't know. And Terry's Terry's same age as me, and they were badges at the same time, and he was a Gator, and I was at Harrogate and all that, and he's a nice lad. He's a good lad. Blyth's a unique place, and. He's either walked out of principle, or because I can't understand why he walked out because he's got the players he wanted.
Exactly.
They've got people at home 1-0. I was at the game; it wasn't that bad. They weren't horrendous. So he looked all right after the game. They only got beat 1-0. I've kidded him instead of full time, and then all of a sudden he's gone, which it's the strangest thing in the world. But it's Blyth for you, anything happened. So they've probably got. I know they've put an application for managers, but I think they probably need somebody totally fresh. Fresh ideas. Maybe somebody who's not connected to the club. Maybe somebody from outside the area. I'm not too sure, but they need somebody because the clubs went back over the last maybe 4 or 5 seasons.
Just. Finishing off with myself, you got any good memories from your time at Newcastle Benfield?
Yeah, Newcastle Benfield was a fantastic club. What I class as a proper Northern League club, a bit like a Dunstan. These sort of clubs which are just not, Concert's another one, proper football clubs, they've got history, they're just, I think they won the Lions. Keith Sheardon brought them up in the Lions into the Northern League Second Division and in the Northern League First Division. They were always, when I was there, they were always like second. I think the season I left was second. They were just the great Paul Anthony, these sort of players, Mark Atkinson, Phil Lumsden, who was an absolute superstar. They just, and obviously Andy Granger, one of the best keepers in non-league football. So, but they're just all great lads, great club. You just hope they do well. I went back, had a little jump back for Jimmy asked us to come in when they lost the manager, so went in for 20 games. I think we won 18 of them. Got the quarter final of the Vars, but unfortunately the game of the Vars, I was in New York. I had to go to New York. I was at a family holiday book.
Yeah,
and we got 2-1. So after that, me and Jimmy shook hands, and I went to be merry with you. But fantastic club. You just hope they'll get great success in the future.
Yeah. Finally, I'll hand you back over to James there, Tom. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just a quick fire question just to finish off there. So, looking back over the manager career so far, who would you say is the best manager you've faced, kind of that you couldn't get one over on type of thing?
Daz Williams, good manager. Harry Dunn, obviously legend, top manager. Kieran Fenton, with no shoes, got beat in the final. They lost there's some great managers, great characters. Keith Sheardon mentioned before. Paul Baker was a good manager. Some great guys. Tony Lee, who unfortunately is not having a great time at the minute. He was, a superstar of a bloke. He's got arm signers at the minute, and the clubs he looked after and the games you manage against them, they're just proper characters, and you've got to pick your wits against him. Swalesy at Southern RCA. Yeah. Just passionate, really passionate bloke. But great guy, absolutely fantastic guy. The thing about non-league managers, you can have a bit like the Chelsea and Tottenham game. You can have a right argument. You can have a right go for that. You can be nose to nose after the game, shake hands, and have a hug. And that's what it's all about. Leave it on the pitch, shake hands, and get on with it. And never be scared to say apologise. And if you went overstep the line, which I did on many occasions, I still apologise for it now. But there were great times, and I've had a decent career. So I'm always thankful for that.
No, definitely. And who would you say was the best player that you've managed over your career?
Well, I think Robbie Deal is the best, I would think. There's so many, Stephen Turnbull, absolutely unbelievable. As a player, I've always said I would love to manage his Phil. Phil Turnbull, absolute legend of the game. Michael Little at Blyth, left back, who's at Sunderland as a kid. What an absolute gentleman of a footballer, but what a talent. Alex Nicholson, Ryan Hutchinson, Nathan Buddle, Danny Maguire came from nowhere to be a superstar in that top level. Jared River, they're all great, but Robbie's a standout guy, and I think most managers will say he's probably the best knocking around.
Yeah. And who would you say was the best opposition player that's played against that you could never get your hands on, could never sign?
Keith Graydon. I've got to mention Russia because he's obviously on next. So people like Russia, Steve Richardson, who had a gator, but he went on to have a fantastic career as a top non-league player. James Curtis, obviously, who went to Spennymoor. Paul Thompson. Just the list goes on and on. We're blessed up here with good quality.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah.
The depth in the northeast is astounding. And now that we're in the pyramid system and we're in it properly, I think a lot more players get picked up from the northeast. I think the reason why they haven't been picked up is the Northern League just wanted the players to play in this area because of the Vars. So people like Willie B won the Vars numerous times, and it did very well. Andy Gowans and these sort of people, Jason Ainsley, top managers.
Yeah.
But now that these players have been looked at across the country, and they're travelling outside the area, it gives scouts a chance to see them in different environments. So I do think, I think it's weakened the Northern League a bit, but it's allowed younger players to play in the Northern League come through. And I think it allows the better players to go higher and to be looked at in a bigger stage. So I think it's all around good that's happened. But there's immense amount of players. Like Tommy English is probably the nearest thing I've seen to Robbie.
Yeah, fantastic,
unbelievable footballer, Tommy English. But absolutely gifted footballer. So there's probably hundreds I can name, but I'm getting too old for that. Memory's not good.
Probably is a hard one, this one. I can imagine there's quite a few, but if you can relive one match memory, like the best game that you've managed in, what would be that match?
It's a funny one because I always bring this up. We played Whitton Albion away, and we had a kid like Rob Nolan played for, and we had a Greek goalkeeper who was a total nutcase, absolute total. And we played Whitton Albion away, and it was the game that we knew had a good side of Blyth. It was the early stages was taking over. We played Whitton away, where it had a great side, and we played and we got battered, absolutely battered. And they had a penalty. The keeper saved the penalty. Went nuts, went absolutely ballistic. He was a crazy lad. And then we went and won 1-0. Rob Nolan scored. We'd just come up with the Lions football, scored the winner. But the way support was brilliant. It was the first game that we went and shook the hands of the away supporters and thanked them, and the club just all of a sudden just was there. It just came out of horrendous times, possible relegation, and I think that one game just lit up the whole club, and that was the early part of my career at Blyth, and the supporters got it, that were there for them, and it wasn't a great game. It wasn't a fantastic game of football. It was backs to the wall for 90 minutes, but we had a bunch of kids playing, and it was just great to see. There wasn't a great deal of support there, but it was just like when you probably all had them when you just understand what it's all about, and the players understood what it's all about, and the supporters got it, and the board got it, and everybody just said, right, okay, now it's time to put this club on the map a bit, or put it back on the map, I should say. So that was the game that I always remember, because it was the start of things,
Oh, really good. A couple of questions that from the few comments here. I know there's a few watching, so thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate it. Again, Graham just asking any players that went on to greatness from Benfield during the time.
There was nobody went on to league football, but they could have. Phil Lumsden was at West Ham with Michael Carrick and Graham Carrick. Birdman. They were all in the same sort of age group. Phil Lumsden was hugely lucky not to get away as a pro, or not being kept on for West Ham as a pro. Unbelievable footballer. Mark Atkinson was another one who went, and I think he works for Newcastle now as a European manager or something in the Newcastle Academy. Stephen Young was a top goal scorer for years and years and years. Michael Chilton, another one. We had two of the top goal scorers knocking around. Dean Nicholson came in that season. He was absolutely outstanding, unbelievable footballer. Paul Anthony, Scropey. The list endless, but there wasn't anybody who went on to actually play at a top level. But these lads could have played Blyth level or quite easily. But they just loved it at Benfield, you know.
Every time I think of Benfield, I just thought, because I obviously love the Northern League as well. It's Brayson, obviously the striker. It doesn't matter. I think he must be about 50 nearly now, and he's just banging goals in front of me.
We actually, when I was a Gator, we were the first season I went, we were fighting a massive battle, a relegation battle. And you had people like Brian Honor. Top of good managers, Brian Honor was at Bishops. There was 4 went down, and we were 5th bottom, and Brassy was at Northwich Victoria with Stuart Elliott. So we managed, Derek Bell knew them, so we managed to get them on loan from Northwich to Gateshead for a short period of time. And I think that season he had scored, he was player of the round when they played Sunderland. I think Northwich played Sunderland in the FA Cup. And I think Brassy must have scored or something, and he was player of the round or something like. But he couldn't play for it. In the first game, he scored a hat-trick. He was just absolutely unbelievable. But we played Lincoln City away. We played Lincoln City away, and I'll never get the goal. Our lads, I think James Curtis must have volleyed the ball out, not a pass, just kicked it out of defence. It's come to Brassy on the edge of the box, never touched the ground, fixed it up, always said, volleyed the top corner. That was his first touch that he said. He was absolutely unbelievable footballer. But I think he scored about 12 goals in about 6 games. Then he went back to Northwich and finished top goal scorer. But his goals kept up, because what happened was we were 5th bottom, and then Bishop Auckland. That wasn't Bishop Auckland went Spennymoor went bust. Spennymoor went bust that season. So then all the points got took off everybody, and we had just won twice. So we were back in the relegation fight in the last 2 games of the season. So we managed to get out of it. I think the last game of the season we won 2-1. We got a relegation. But Brayson is a legend. He's just a goal scoring freak, you know.
Yeah. And Tony just asking there, why don't you think Robbie went pro in the end, Robbie Dale?
Well, I think Tony likes Robbie. I know Tony really well. I think Steve was saying before about attitude and just the type of player that he was. He needs to be in a comfortable environment to develop. With developing players, it's the environment that you're in, and I think the pro environment's a bit brutal. And I think Robbie's not that type of kid, you know. He just likes to be in an environment that he can grow, and I think the pro game just was never going to be for him. He should have, but I don't think it would have developed. It's like Dan Maguire went away as a pro. He went to Halifax, and there was loads of Blackpool after him and all sorts. He went away and he just couldn't handle the full-time football. And I think Robbie was the same. He loves the game. He likes to train Tuesday and Thursday and go home. I think full-time training is just not for him. It wouldn't be for Robbie. Robbie wouldn't enjoy that regimented sort of time. You've got to be there a certain time to do this.
Yeah.
So no, he was playing wise more than good enough, but probably he just wanted to be where he's comfortable at. Gerard Rivers went to Blackpool and it didn't work in Blackpool, probably the wrong club for him, but he went on loan to Blackpool. He was supposed to go to Cambridge. Cambridge would be a better fit, but Cambridge, the day before he was supposed to sign Cambridge, he was actually at Cambridge when they played Man U. And they drew with Man U, 1 each. I think Donaldson scored the lad at Morpeth.
Yeah.
They drew 1 each, and Gerard was in the change rooms ready to sign for them. But because they drew 1 each and they were playing Man U away, the next game was worth £1 million to them. So instead of looking down over, they looked over, and I think they signed Chelsea instead. So Gerard didn't get the contract because they drew Man U.
Crazy that, like.
That's how brutal it is, football. So then he went to Blackpool, and Blackpool at the time were in a funny. Yeah. The chairman was a bit of a nut, like. The change was terrible. Lee Clark was manager. Lee Clark took him.
Aye.
And Paul Stevenson. He was brilliant. Clark was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But Clark got sacked, and then Gerrard just got released.
Tough for him as well. I mean, just going forward for yourself, Tom, any obviously isolate Morpeth at the moment, or at director of football, or anything in the background?
I went to Morpeth, but I was probably not the right person at the time for them. They needed probably somebody who could bring a bit more. They brought a lad in from Scotland, Callum Morris, who I got him at the club. Knew Callum. Callum was at Blyth, and he went away to the Glenhoddle School of Football and all that. So he was at I think it was at Race Rovers, and he was going to retire because he had a few injuries. He still played football, he couldn't play full time. So I asked him if he would be willing to come to Morpeth, and he said, "Yeah, I would, but I'm trying to get a job within football as well, not just playing." Yeah. So I was director of football in Morpeth, but it would be better for the club if he came in and took that role on, type of thing. So he's now commercial manager, which is a job I would have done. But he's also plays for the club as well. So it works financially for the club. So I know Mark. So we just shook hands, and I just stepped down. I do a bit of England C now, which I've done for a few years now. So I just go and scouting players for the England C setup. I've done really well in the North East over the last 3 seasons, getting an average of 6 players in where we never get any. So I do a bit of that. So it's nice to get the players recognised in that sort of level,
Definitely not brilliant. And final question there from Tony: thoughts on South Shields possibly getting promoted this season? I know they've been so unlucky, obviously, with the COVID seasons. Actually, I know we had Gary Brown on a few weeks ago, and like you say, he was a part of it when they were so far ahead. Pretty much had the league wrapped up. Do you think this could be the season they finally do get that promotion?
It's a tough league. If you look at AFC Fylde and Chorley and Salford, took them 3 or 4 seasons to get out of the league. The only team that's done it properly is Darton. Darton came up, went through all the leagues, kept momentum going, and went up. But they still had to get 102 points to get up. That's a lot of points. This season, Warrington's pretty strong in the league. Morpeth will be strong in the league. FC United signed a few players. It's a tough league, and they are the favourites. And as we've been favourites, you've got to perform every game,
Definitely.
And just looking at the points that we finished second with, 99 points. You cannot drop many points to have that sort of point level there. So it's a tough one. I think the change of management probably is going to be beneficial this now. I think he came in at probably a funny time for the club, and he had to understand the league. It's not easy coming from pro game into non-league football. I know the full time, but it's still a different world, So I think I don't know the manager, but I'm sure this season he's had a good idea of what's required now. And I know Lee Pickman's has come down from commercial manager into the backroom staff now, and I think that'll help him because Lee knows the league really well. So they've got to be favourites to go up, but it's a tough league. They should win it, but you can't drop many points, And they also have a bit of a blip. Warrington beat Morpeth 2-0 on Saturday, which was a bit of a shock. Morpeth, I think, up there is one of the favourites to go up this season. But the players have gotten, the players have signed that they should be.
Yeah.
There's no search, but they should be up there, like.
No, definitely. No, Tom, thank you so much for coming on. I know we said it's only about 45 minutes, so we're sorry for taking up an hour and a half of your time, but absolute pleasure. Fantastic. I know yourself and Stephen, it's nice to get a manager on here, the other side of the story. It's always about the players, and it doesn't matter which player we've had on. Every time they mention it when they're going club to club, it's, well, I had this argument with this manager, I fell out with this manager, I did this to this manager. So it's just nice to hear the other side of the story for once. So I really appreciate your time for coming on as well.
That's a pleasure.
Excellent. Thank you very much. But again, thank you everyone for watching. really does mean a lot in the comments coming as well. We've got the review preview show coming on Thursday night of the Brighton game and the Man City game. Looking forward to that as well. And we've also got Rasha key grading on next Sunday night. Once we're back from the Newcastle match as well against Man City. So a lot to look forward to next week. But again, thank you everyone for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your night as well.